This is the news in brief from the United Nations. Gaza is by far the most dangerous place in the world to be a child, and deaths of youngsters from disease will likely surpass those from bombardment in the absence of a ceasefire, the UN Children's Fund UNICEF warned on Tuesday. A lack of food, water, shelter and sanitation continues to put children's lives at risk as they suffer under relentless airstrikes with no safe place to go, said UNICEF spokesperson James Elder, who recently returned from the enclave. Ahead of a UN Security Council meeting expected to call for a pause in fighting to facilitate aid access, he told journalists in Geneva that every single child is enduring these 10 weeks of hell and not one of them can escape.
As a parent of a critically sick little child told me, quote, "Our situation is pure misery. I'm overwhelmed. All we have is hope. I don't know if we will make it through this. Please tell the world."
According to the Gaza health authorities, over 19,400 Palestinians have been killed in the enclave since the start of Israel's retaliation for Hamas's deadly terror attacks on the 7th of October, about 70% of them women and children. Over 52,000 Palestinians have been injured and their access to life-saving care is extremely limited. UN Health Agency WHO said on Tuesday that only 8 of the 36 hospitals in the Strip are at least partially functional. The protracted and entrenched conflict in Ukraine will impact lives and human rights for generations to come as evidence of gross violations of international law continues to be documented, UN Rights Chief Volker Türk said on Tuesday. Briefing the UN Human Rights Council, Mr. Türk said that his office has recorded and confirmed over 10,000 civilian deaths resulting from the conflict in Ukraine. A further 18,500 civilians have been confirmed injured and the true toll is probably substantially higher, the High Commissioner added. In territory controlled by Russian armed forces or occupied by Russia, 142 cases of summary execution of civilians have been documented since the beginning of the conflict, as well as widespread torture and ill treatment of detainees, including sexual violence and enforced disappearances, Mr. Türk said. The UN rights chief pointed to an extensive failure by Russia to take adequate measures to protect civilians and deplored Russian missile strikes in densely populated residential areas, such as last week's attacks on Kiev. Mr. Türk highlighted Russian missile attacks against grain storage and transport facilities, which constitute protected civilian objects under international humanitarian law. He underscored that over 1,300 education and health facilities have been damaged or destroyed since February 2022, and that only half of Ukraine's children are able to attend in-person classes every day. 8 months into the conflict in Sudan, fighting has broken out in Wad Medani in Al Jazeera state with dramatic consequences, the UN's Humanitarian Affairs Coordination Office OCHA said on Tuesday. Wad Medani has been a place of refuge for nearly 500,000 displaced people and has operated as a key humanitarian hub. Since fighting there started on Friday, aid organizations have been forced to temporarily suspend operations until further notice and relocate to neighboring states, OCHA said. Preliminary information from UN Migration Agency IOM indicates that at least 250,000 people have fled Al Jazeera state, many in panic and with no other option than fleeing on foot. OCHA warned that if the violence continues, aid distribution to 2 million people, or a third of the population of Al Jazeera state, will be compromised. The area is already struggling with a cholera outbreak as healthcare facilities are stretched to the limit. OCHA said that across the country, 70% of hospitals are out of function in conflict-affected states. Insecurity and bureaucratic impediments make aid access difficult, while the humanitarian response plan for this year remains only 39% funded. Dominika, Tomaszewska-Mortimer, UN News.